What if some of the most patriotic war films Britain ever made were also the ones the censors tried to bury? In the 1950s, British studios did not just wave flags. They showed men breaking, villages burning, and heroes doing ugly things to survive. Some scenes were so harsh, the censors reached for their scissors. Here are 20 British war films from that decade that dared to push too far. Let us count down. Number 20. The Wooden Horse, 1950. A group of British prisoners of war sit inside a German camp with high fences and armed guards on every side. Getting out looks impossible. So they come up with one of the strangest plans in war film history. They build a wooden vaulting horse, the kind you jump over in gym class. Every day they carry it out to the yard and pretend to exercise. But hidden inside the horse is a man. While the others jump and shout, he digs a tunnel right under the noses of the guards. This film is based on a true story. The men take turns going into the ground, filling bags with soil, and hiding every trace before they are caught. One small mistake means a guard finds the hole. And in this camp, being caught trying to escape can cost a man his life. The most gripping scene is simple. There is no gunfire and no big battle. It is just a man alone in a narrow tunnel, scraping at the earth with his hands while the guards walk past above. You can almost feel the walls closing in. For 1950, this was strong stuff. It showed captivity as cold, tense, and real, not as a jolly adventure. There were no easy heroes here, only tired men taking huge risks. It set the tone for a whole wave of darker British war films to come. And it proved that quiet fear could grip an audience just as hard as any loud, blazing battle scene. Number 19. They Who Dare, 1954.
Nice, steady work. What do they mean by small-scale raid? October 12th.
What happens when a daring raid falls apart? This film gives you the ugly answer. A small team of British commandos and local Greek fighters land by submarine on the island of Rhodes. Their job is to sneak onto German airfields at night and blow up enemy planes on the ground. On paper, it sounds bold and clever. In real life, everything that can go wrong does. The men plant their charges and the raid partly works. But then the plan breaks down. The team gets split up. Enemy soldiers hunt them across rocky hills under a burning sun. There is no clean getaway waiting for them. Instead, there is thirst, panic, and the slow loss of good men one by one. Dirk Bogarde plays the officer leading the raid, and the film does not treat him as a perfect hero. His choices get people hurt. The mission that was supposed to make him proud starts to feel like a trap he built himself. The scene that sticks with you is the long march after the attack. The excitement is gone. What is left is exhausted men, running low on water, arguing, and looking over their shoulders. It feels less like a war film and more like a bad dream. For its time, this was a bleak way to show war. It did not promise that brave men always make it home. It showed that courage and disaster often ride side by side. And that raw honesty about the true cost of failure made some viewers of the day deeply uncomfortable. Number 18. The Malta Story, 1953.
How long do we wait in Malta? Just a few minutes or till morning? Depends what's happening when we get there.
Imagine a tiny island being bombed almost every single day for 2 years. That was Malta during World War II, and this film puts you right in the middle of it. Alec Guinness plays a quiet British pilot who lands on the island to fly photo missions. He is supposed to pass through. Instead, he gets stuck in one of the longest sieges of the whole war. The story mixes his life with the daily struggle of the island itself. Enemy planes come in waves. Food runs low. Homes fall into rubble. People line up for scraps while sirens scream overhead. The film shows how war grinds down not just soldiers but ordinary families trying to survive. Guinness gives a soft, thoughtful performance. His character falls in love and dreams of a life after the fighting. But this is not that kind of story. His job is to fly out, take pictures of enemy ships, and bring the film back so bombers know where to strike. Every flight might be his last. The hardest scene comes near the end, when a mission goes wrong and hope slips away in an instant. There is no big speech, just silence and the weight of loss. For 1953, showing a well-loved star meet such a fate was a bold move. Many war films of the day wanted happy salutes and waving flags. This one dared to show that the siege took real people and did not give them back. That grim honesty stayed with audiences long after the film ended. Number 17. Above Us the Waves, 1955.
Steep, but you might as well be lying in an air raid shelter. Somehow, gentlemen, Tirpitz has got to...
Would you climb into a tiny submarine, barely bigger than a car, and sail it right under a giant enemy battleship? That is the true mission at the heart of this film. The German warship Tirpitz is huge, heavily armed, and hiding in a deep fjord. Normal attacks cannot reach it. So the British try something almost mad. They send in midget submarines crewed by only a few men each. John Mills leads the team. The plan is to slip past nets and guards, sneak under the giant ship, and place charges on its hull. Then they must escape before the whole thing goes up. It is slow, tense, and terrifying. One wrong move means being trapped underwater with no way out. The film spends a lot of time inside those cramped little subs. The air feels thin, the walls press in. Water leaks and pressure builds. You feel every creak and groan of the metal. This is not a story about big guns blazing. It is about a handful of men holding their nerve in a steel box far below the surface. The standout scene is the final approach, when the tiny sub crawls under the massive hull above. The men can only look up and pray the charges hold, and the ship does not crush them. For 1955, this was a nervy, close ride. It showed how thin the line was between a brave mission and a watery grave, and it made viewers hold their breath right along with the crew. Number 16, Albert R.N., 1953.
Kapitän, ein Fluchtversuch. Was heißt das? Wir haben einen Tunnel gefunden. Komm!
Here is a prison break story with a truly odd secret weapon. British sailors are locked in a German prisoner of war camp. Every day, the guards count the men to make sure no one is missing. So how do you sneak someone out when the numbers must always add up? The prisoners come up with a clever trick. They build a life-size dummy and name him Albert. When a real man escapes, Albert takes his place in the lineup. From a distance, he looks close enough to a living person to fool the guards during the count. It is a strange, brave, and risky idea, and this film is based on a true one. The story is really about pressure. The men know that if their trick is found out, the punishment will be harsh. They live under constant watch, hiding tools, digging in secret, and keeping their fear locked inside. One curious guard could bring the whole plan crashing down. The best scene is the roll call itself. The prisoners stand in line, hearts pounding, while a guard walks slowly past Albert, so close that one hard look might end everything. The tension is almost too much to bear. For its time, this was a smart, grown-up take on captivity. It did not show camp life as a game. It showed the strain, the risk, and the cost of trying to be free. The men here are not cartoon heroes. They are frightened people using their wits to survive. And that made the danger feel very real. Number 15, A Hill in Korea, 1956. Most British war films of this time looked back at World War II. This one did something braver. It looked at Korea, a war that had only just ended and still felt raw. A small patrol of British soldiers is sent to check an area as enemy forces close in. What starts as a simple job turns into a fight for their lives. The men fall back to an old temple on a hill and try to hold it. They are tired, low on supplies, and far from help. Around them, the enemy grows in number. The film follows the group as they wait, watch, and slowly get picked apart. It is cold, tense, and grim. Look closely and you will spot young actors who became stars later, including a very early role for Michael Caine. But no one here is a shining hero. These are ordinary men, scared and unsure, trying to survive one more hour. The scene that lands hardest is the quiet before each attack. The soldiers crouch in the ruins, listening to every sound in the dark, knowing some of them will not see morning. Then the noise begins. For 1956, showing a recent war with such a bleak eye was risky. There were no easy wins and no proud parade at the end. Just loss, fear, and the heavy feeling that some fights leave scars that never heal. It refused to make the war look clean or safe, and that honest, bleak view made it stand out from the flag-waving crowd. Number 14, Sea of Sand, 1958. Deep in the desert, far from any front line, a small group of British soldiers drives across endless dunes on a dangerous job. This film follows the long-range desert group, real-life raiders who struck the enemy from behind. Their mission is to reach a German fuel dump and blow it up before a big battle begins. Success could help win the fight ahead. Failure means being lost in the sand. The men travel light in a few battered trucks. There are no comforts out here. Just heat, dust, thirst, and the constant fear of being spotted. The film takes its time, showing how hard desert war really was. The enemy is dangerous, but so is the land itself. The raid on the fuel dump is a tense, fiery highlight. But the real gut punch comes on the way back. One of their trucks breaks down, and the men must make a hard choice about who and what to save. Out here, A small problem can turn deadly fast, and not everyone will make it home. Richard Attenborough is among the cast, playing a soldier worn thin by the strain. The film does not dress up the danger. It shows brave men making painful calls with no good options. For 1958, this was a raw look at a harsh kind of war. It traded big heroics for hard truth. The desert here is not a backdrop. It is a killer of its own, and that grim honesty gave the film a real edge. Number 13. The Colditz Story, 1955. What do the Germans do with prisoners who keep trying to escape? They send them to Colditz, a grim old castle on a hill, said to be impossible to break out of. This film, based on a true account, is all about the men who refuse to accept that word impossible. Colditz is packed with officers from many countries, and almost all of them share one goal. They want out. So the castle becomes a battle of wits. The prisoners dig tunnels, forge papers, and dream up bold disguises. The guards watch every move, ready to punish anyone who steps out of line. John Mills leads a strong cast as the men plot and scheme. The film is full of clever tricks, but it never forgets the danger. Getting caught means the cells, or worse. Every escape try is a gamble with high stakes. The best scenes are the near misses. A prisoner in a fake uniform walks toward the gate, trying to look calm while his heart races. One sharp question from a guard could ruin everything. The whole room seems to hold its breath. For 1955, this was a smart and gripping take on prison camp life. It showed courage, but also the crushing weight of being locked away with no end in sight. The men here are clever and brave, yet always one step from disaster. It made captivity feel like a slow test of nerve, where the greatest enemy was often the fear of never getting free at all. Few escape films ever felt this tense. Number 12. The Battle of the River Plate, 1956.
Complain? What's the use of complaining? You've sunk my ship, you've stolen my papers.
Early in World War II, one German warship became a nightmare for British shipping. This film tells the true story of the hunt to stop it. The ship is the Graf Spee, a powerful raider that sinks merchant vessels and then vanishes into the vast ocean. British warships are sent to find it and bring it down, even though it outguns them. When the British finally catch the raider, a fierce sea battle breaks out. The German ship is stronger, and the smaller British cruisers take a beating. Shells scream across the water, metal tears. Men are hurt as the ship's trade blows. It is a hard, loud, frightening fight. Damaged but not beaten, the German ship runs to a neutral port to make repairs. Now the tension shifts. The whole world watches to see what its captain will do. He is trapped, low on options, and facing a grim end for his ship and crew. The most striking scene is the choice the captain makes about his ship's final fate. It is a quiet, heavy moment after all the noise of battle, and it hangs in the air. For 1956, this was a big, bold sea story. But under the spectacle sits a darker truth. War at sea meant burning ships, lost sailors, and captains forced into terrible decisions. The film shows both the courage and the cost, and it reminds you that even a so-called clean naval victory was paid for in fear, fire, and lost human lives on both sides. Number 11. Ice Cold in Alex, 1958.
Heavy stuff the whole time. We got all the wounded off all right there. Have a drink?
How far would you go for one cold drink? This film turns that simple question into a long, tense desert journey. A small British crew must drive an ambulance across the North African desert to safety. Along the way they face minefields, soft sand, enemy patrols, and a stranger they do not fully trust. John Mills plays the officer in charge, and he is not a shiny hero. He is worn out, shaking, and leaning on drink to get through each day. His nerves are almost gone. The desert keeps testing him and his small group at every turn. One of the passengers might be a spy, which only adds to the strain. The film is famous for two very different scenes. One is a heart-stopping moment, when the ambulance must be pushed backward up a steep sandy slope, inch by inch, with everything on the line. Another is when a man is caught in soft, sucking ground, and the others fight to save him. Then comes the ending everyone remembers. After all that fear and struggle, the survivors finally reach a bar and pour that long-dreamed-of cold drink. That one quiet moment says more than any speech could. For 1958, this was a gripping look at how war wears people down. It showed fear, weakness, and the thin line between trust and doubt. The heroes here sweat, shake, and nearly break, and that made their small victory feel huge. It proved a war film could grip you without a single grand battle. Number 10. The One That Got Away, 1957. Here is a war film that did something almost shocking for its time. It made the hero a German. This is the true story of Franz von Vera, an enemy pilot shot down over Britain and taken prisoner. While most such films cheered for the British side, this one follows the man trying to break out and get home to fight again. Von Vera is clever, bold, and hard to hold. He tries escape after escape. He slips away in the countryside. He talks his way through checkpoints with pure nerve. Every time he is caught, he simply plans the next attempt. You almost forget he is the enemy and start rooting for him. Hardy Kruger plays him with charm and steel. The film treats him as a real, brave man, rather than a cartoon villain. That choice was daring. It came only a few years after the war, when many people still had raw wounds and strong feelings about the other side. The best stretch is his long, risky run for freedom, moving across a strange land where everyone is looking for him. Each close call makes your pulse jump. For 1957, showing the enemy as smart and human made some viewers uneasy. It broke the simple rule that our side is good and their side is bad. Instead, it asked people to admire courage, even when it wore the wrong uniform. That bold idea stirred quiet debate about how soon was too soon to see a former foe as a hero. Number 9. Dunkirk, 1958.
The oceans of the world have been swept.
Not every war story is about winning. This film is about one of the darkest moments Britain ever faced. In 1940, the British Army is trapped on the beaches of France as the enemy closes in. There seems to be no way out. What follows is a desperate rush to bring hundreds of thousands of men home across the sea. The film shows the chaos on the sand. Tired, frightened soldiers wait in long lines with nowhere to hide. Enemy planes swoop low and attack the crowds on the open beach. There is no cover and no easy rescue. It is a picture of an army pushed to the edge. At the same time, the story follows ordinary people back in Britain. Small boats, fishing craft, and pleasure launches all sail out to help carry the men home. Regular civilians risk everything to cross dangerous water and pull soldiers from the shore. The scenes on the beach hit the hardest. Men stand helpless as attacks rain down, praying a boat will reach them in time. There is fear, loss, and the crushing weight of defeat in every frame. For 1958, this was a brave film to make. It did not pretend the war was one long parade of wins. It showed a retreat, a near disaster, and the terror of being cornered. Yet it also found quiet courage in the small boats and the men who kept going. That honest mix of defeat and quiet hope gave the film a raw and lasting power that stayed with viewers. Number 8. The Cockleshell Heroes, 1955.
Command. Good. Now, how much do you know about it?
Could a handful of men in tiny canoes really strike a heavy blow against the enemy? This film is based on a true mission that dared to try. A small group of Royal Marines trains in secret for a bold plan. They will paddle small canoes up a river deep inside enemy-held France and attach explosives to German ships in a busy port. The training is tough and the plan is risky. These men know that if they are caught, mercy is unlikely. Still, they push on. Under cover of night, they slip into the water and begin the long, quiet paddle toward the target, hiding by day and moving by dark. The film builds real tension as the tiny canoes creep past patrols and dangers. One splash, one light, one wrong turn could end everything. When they finally reach the ships and place their charges, it feels like a small miracle. But this story does not end in cheers. The hardest truth comes after the raid, when many of the brave men who took part do not make it back. The film does not hide the heavy price of their courage. For 1955, this was a stirring but sobering watch. It honored real heroes, while showing that daring often comes with a terrible cost. The men here are brave beyond words, yet the mission takes most of them. That mix of triumph and loss made the film linger. It reminded audiences that behind every proud raid stood real people who gave up everything and often got nothing back. Number 7. Carve Her Name with Pride, 1958.
So do we. We want to get there this morning. Come on, we got to get to work.
Really, the manners of...
This film tells the true and heartbreaking story of a young British woman who became a secret agent. Her name was Violette Szabo. After losing her husband in the war, she trains hard and is sent into enemy-held France to help the resistance. She is brave, skilled, and willing to risk her life for the cause. Virginia McKenna plays her with warmth and grit. We watch Violette leave her little daughter behind, learn the dangerous trade of a spy, and parachute into hostile country. Her missions are tense and deadly. Every knock at the door could mean capture. Then the worst happens. She is caught by the enemy. The film does not shy away from what came next. Captured agents like her faced harsh, cruel treatment, and Violet is taken to a prison camp where hope is almost gone. Her courage in those final scenes is quietly devastating. The most powerful moment is a poem shared through the story, a set of gentle lines that carried a secret code. Those simple words become a symbol of love, loss, and bravery all at once. For 1958, this was a bold and painful film. It refused to hide the grim fate of spies who were caught behind enemy lines. It showed a real woman, a real mother, meeting a terrible end for doing something brave. That honesty made audiences weep and think. It stands as a moving tribute and a stark reminder that not every hero of the war came home to be thanked. Number 6. The Purple Plane, 1954.
Don't shake you up too much on the way.
Shake as much as you like, Buck.
Huh?
What happens to a man's mind when war takes everything he loves? This film digs into that dark question. Gregory Peck plays a pilot flying in Burma who is haunted by loss and anger. He takes wild risks and seems not to care if he lives or dies. His grief has hollowed him out. Then his plane goes down far from safety. Peck's character and 2 others survive the crash, but find themselves stranded on a vast, baking plain with little water and no easy way back. The land is empty, brutal, and merciless under a punishing sun. Their real fight now is against thirst, heat, and despair. The trek is grueling. Each step drains them. As the days drag on, hope starts to slip. One of the men, worn down by pain and fear, gives up and cannot go on. It is a raw, painful moment that shows how war and hardship can break the spirit. The film's most gripping scenes are the long, silent stretches of walking, where the men push their bodies past their limits just to reach water. You feel the sun, the dust, and the weight of every hour. For 1954, this was a strong and honest look at the mind under strain. It did not treat war as glory. It treated it as loss, exhaustion, and the slow struggle to want to live again. Peck's broken hero has to find a reason to keep fighting for survival. That human story of a broken man clawing his way back gave the film a haunting power. Number 5. Bitter Victory, 1957. Some war films are about the enemy. This one is about 2 men on the same side who cannot stand each other. A British raid is planned on an enemy headquarters deep in the North African desert. 2 officers lead it. One is brave and battle-hardened. The other holds rank but freezes when danger comes. From the start, there is bad blood between them. Richard Burton plays the tougher man, and the film uses him to ask hard questions. What makes a real hero? And what happens when a coward is put in charge of brave men? As the mission unfolds, the 2 officers clash again and again, and their private war becomes as deadly as the one around them. The desert crossing is where things turn truly dark. Worn down, hurt, and bitter, the men are pushed to ugly choices. In one chilling moment, a wounded man is left behind to a slow, lonely end, while another simply walks away. It is cold, cruel, and hard to shake. The film's bleak heart shows in a famous line, when Burton's character says he kills the living and saves the dead. It sums up the twisted logic of war in a single breath. For 1957, this was a shockingly grim story. It did not celebrate victory. It showed how war can rot people from the inside, turning comrades into enemies. There are no clean heroes here, only tired men making dark calls. That harsh, cynical view was daring for its day, and it left audiences deeply unsettled. Number 4. The Bridge on the River Kwai, 1957.
I want to return the favor. When a man gives me something from the goodness of his heart, like...
This is one of the most famous war films ever made, and also one of the harshest. British prisoners of war are forced to build a railway bridge deep in the jungle for their captors. The camp is brutal. The heat is crushing. The men are worked to the bone with little food and less mercy. Alec Guinness plays their proud commander, who clashes with the camp's stern leader over how the prisoners should be treated. In a strange twist, Guinness's character becomes obsessed with building a perfect bridge, almost forgetting it will help the enemy. His pride slowly blinds him. Meanwhile, a separate team is sneaking through the jungle with orders to blow that very bridge apart. The camp scenes are hard to watch. Guinness's character is locked in a small metal box under the blazing sun as punishment, baked and broken by the heat. The cruelty of the place is shown without flinching. The ending is unforgettable. As the bridge is finished and a train approaches, everything races toward a stunning, explosive finish. One final choice changes everything in a heartbeat. For 1957, this was a bold, dark epic. It refused to make war simple. It showed cruelty, madness, and the strange ways pride can twist even good men. The famous last line, muttered in shock, captures the whole grim mess of it. The film won huge praise and many awards. Yet beneath the spectacle lies a brutal truth about how thin the line is between duty and folly. Number 3. Orders to Kill, 1958.
It's about that boy of mine, Gene.
What if you were sent to end a stranger's life, only to slowly believe he was innocent? This film builds its whole story around that gut-wrenching idea. A young American flyer is picked for a secret job in enemy-held Paris. He is trained to track down a man thought to be a traitor who is getting resistance fighters caught. His orders are simple: find the man and take him out. But when he reaches Paris and meets his target, something changes. The man is gentle, kind, and clearly loves his wife, his daughter, and even his cat. He shows the young agent nothing but warmth. Doubt creeps in. Is this really a traitor or an ordinary decent man? The film's most disturbing scene is the killing itself. It is not quick or clean or heroic. It is clumsy, close, and painful, and it haunts the young agent long after. The victim's final, simple question hangs over the rest of the story. Later, the war ends, and the truth comes out. The man he ended was innocent all along. The agent is left broken by guilt, drowning in regret for following orders without question. For 1958, this was a bold and troubling film. It did not cheer for the mission. It asked whether some orders should ever be obeyed. It showed that war can turn a good young man into something he hates. That hard, honest look at guilt and duty won major awards, and it left viewers shaken, questioning where the real evil in war truly lies. Number 2. Yesterday's Enemy, 1959. Here is the film that was sold as the most controversial war drama ever made in Britain. Why? Because it dared to show British soldiers doing something terrible. A worn-out patrol is cut off in the jungle of Burma. They seize a small village and find a secret enemy map they cannot read. To force the truth from a suspected informer, their hard-eyed officer makes a shocking choice. He orders innocent villagers to be put to death. Stanley Baker plays that officer, and the film does not soften him. His own men are sickened. A chaplain and a war reporter beg him to stop, but he insists it is the only way to save lives. It is a cold, ruthless act, and the film forces you to sit with it. Then the story turns. The enemy takes the village back and uses the very same cruel method on the captured British. What goes around comes around in the most chilling way. The most powerful scene is the officer defending himself. He argues that dropping bombs on thousands feels fine, yet 2 deaths up close cause outrage. It is a harsh, uncomfortable point. For 1959, this hit a nerve. Many people wanted proud, noble war films. This one suggested British soldiers were not always honorable, and some viewers were furious. It broke the flag-waving rule and showed war as a place where good men do awful things. That daring honesty made it one of the most argued-about war films of its whole decade. Number 1. The Camp on Blood Island, 1958. At the top sits the film that caused the loudest storm of all. Made by the famous Hammer Studio, it throws you into a brutal prisoner of war camp run by a merciless commander. He has made a dark vow. If his side loses the war, he will end the lives of every single prisoner before help can arrive. It is a chilling promise that hangs over the whole story. Then word secretly reaches the prisoners that the war is nearly over and their side has won. But there is a terrible catch. If the commander learns the truth, he will carry out his vow at once. So the prisoners must hide the news and keep him in the dark long enough to survive until rescue comes. The film shocked people from its very first scene, which shows a prisoner forced to dig before meeting a grim fate. From there, it does not let up, showing harsh treatment, fear, and cruelty in a way few films of the time dared. Because it came out so soon after the real events, many critics were outraged. They said it turned true suffering into cheap thrills and went far beyond good taste. Yet crowds packed cinemas to see it anyway. For 1958, this was as raw and daring as British war films got. It pushed hard against what the censors would allow. Love it or hate it, no one could ignore it, and that is why it earns the top spot on our list of films that dared to go too far. So, which of these films crossed the line? Was it right to show real cruelty? Or did some of these movies go too far for their own good? The 1950s proved that war stories do not always play nice. Drop your pick for the most shocking one in the comments below. And tell me the film you think the censors were right to worry about. I want to hear it.